I am your host, FatDag, and you're listening to Wise Advice. My weight loss journey failed when I focused on how. It wasn't until I switched my focus to why that I truly transformed myself. Join the show on the web at fatdag.com and follow along on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, all at Wise Advice. Send in your comments, your questions, and your celebrations. I'll include them as part of the show. But before we dive in, remember, when you're out of points, stop eating points. Hey, I'm honored to be your wingman as we walk through this journey together because I believe in you. Well, here we are. Welcome to episode 76 of Wise Advice. And I'll open the show right up with Karen. Karen comes in and says, "Thank you for this wonderful podcast. It's my daily dose of Weight Watchers." Question: what do you do with your weeklies? If you want to lose, do you eat them? How many? Can you lose if you eat your weeklies? Well, Karen, I'll answer that with it depends. You're absolutely encouraged to eat your weeklies. You're encouraged to figure out on your own plan what you need to do to be successful. The weeklies are there to be eaten. It's part of the program. It's factored in that we don't give you them. Weight Watchers does not give you weeklies so that they can sit there in your tracker and not be used. So I would encourage you to absolutely eat them. You need to figure out what your body needs. Your body needs fuel to work properly. So what I did with my weeklies is there were weeks that I ate them. There were weeks that I didn't eat them. Generally, I reserved them for times when I was hungry or for a special occasion. I didn't eat them just for the sake of eating them. I didn't go out and say, hey, at the end of the day, I have 42 weeklies left over. I'm going to go grab a bag of M&Ms and a piece of chocolate cake, and I'm going to eat that, eat those in that fashion. When I was dug into my weeklies, I knew that at that point it was more than what I needed for the day. So I wanted to make a very smart choice with it. I wanted to make sure whatever I was using my weeklies for was something that I really wanted, something that I'd really chosen, and something that I was mindful of. So like I said, there were times when absolutely I went all the way through my weeklies, ate every single one of them. There were times that I didn't, but I was mindful to eating them through the entire process. So what I want you to do, Karen, is I want you to experiment. I do want you to eat them. I want you to work them into your plan. I want you to stay mindful to the blue dot process, right? You can eat up to 7 weeklies per day and still get a blue dot, but you can't go negative in your weeklies. So you still have to kind of mind that. If you eat 7 weeklies a day, it'll take 7 times 7 is 49. So you can overeat and still get a blue dot if you eat 7 weeklies a day. So at some point, you can't eat 7 every single day, so you have to kind of make sure you don't go negative in your weeklies, but you can eat them. And so just make smart choices with them. That is the learning part of this process. That's the flexibility that the program gives you, where you can kind of work them into your journey and figure out what it is you need. But they're absolutely there for you to be used. So go ahead and give them a shot. So Ronni writes in and says, "I wrote you a while back about being derailed due to the illness and death of my mother. You were very supportive. I then took a trip to see my son in Europe. I tried walking as much as possible to help balance out the calories that come with eating all meals out and the sauces and temptations. I said no to those morning croissants. When I returned, the scale showed a 7-pound gain from my lowest Weight Watchers weight thus far. I am back on the program. I am mad at myself for all my bad choices, but mindful that I made some good choices to keep the damage at 7 pounds. The battle continues. To use a military analogy, I lost this battle, but I haven't lost the war. I am finally at a point with Weight Watchers that I accept that life happens, and I just have to start again. Normally, I would sabotage myself and quit at this point, putting all of the weight back on. So the best non-scale victory for me right now is not letting some mistakes cloud my real goal. I have to learn to deal with those food challenges no matter what form they come in. It is ironic that while I see the consequences of my poor choices in how my clothes fit and the scale, I still receive compliments from people who haven't seen me in a while. I am so excited to get these last 7 pounds off and more. Thank you for all of your inspiration, Ronni." Well, let's open up, I remember your email about your mother, and again, my heart continues to pour out for you in that. And so here you are, you're working a new normal, something, your life has completely changed. And so now you're readjusting to this new life. So you have to forgive yourself for that instantly. The term do your best certainly changes as your life goes on and as circumstances come up. So your best now is different than your best before, and you continue to work it. Now, there's a huge win. When you said no to the croissant, that to me shows the mindfulness of where you are in your journey. So we're going to talk a little later about, whether or not you need to be perfect on the plan or not perfect on the plan. But you are at a point right now where you're mindfully engaged into the process. That is a huge win in this journey. The fact that you are interested in what's going on in the journey is the success. Now here we go with one of the common things, and I'm not going to dig too deep on you. I'm not going to pick on you, too hard, but I got to a little bit. A lot of us, and it's not you specifically, it's all of us. But we take a trip, we go somewhere, we go on vacation, and we make the assumption that we're going to walk more. We're going to spend so much time walking that it gives us a free pass to overeat. And you think about it, and so you think about this trip, and I don't know what your numbers were for the trip, but a typical day, when I was in Disney, a typical day for me was 15 to 17,000 steps a day, which is far above what I average when I'm home. So if I used that 17,000 steps, if you convert those to fit points, it's roughly 15 to 17 fit points. So here's what we're doing. We're going on a vacation. We're walking 15,000 steps, let's say. We're earning 15 fit points, let's say. We're eating 50, 60, 70 points worth of food, and we're thinking that because we're walking, we're making a difference. Well, we're still overeating. So when you go on your trip and walking as much as possible is absolutely key. You've got to do that while you're on your journey, but you track those as fit points and then keep a mindfulness of what it is you're still eating. So that shows up why you had the 7-pound gain. It makes perfectly sense. The chances are that you overate those weeks. But what's absolutely critical is that you came right back. You got back on program. I don't like the fact that we say, you got mad at yourself for all the bad choices because you did make some good choices. But the fact that you get mad at yourself is not a healthy mindset. So what we need to do is we need to understand where we are in the journey. We need to understand that we can't be perfect on the plan, that life is always going to happen. We are completely in control, and you didn't lose any battle. You're still mindful to the process. So to say that you lost the battle and you haven't lost a war, I understand where you're headed with that. I really do. But you didn't lose anything. You're continuing in. The fact that you even wrote in at this point continues to remind me that you're working the plan. You're doing the best that you can under the current set of circumstances, and you're doing good. So when you say your best non-scale victory is not letting some mistakes cloud your real goal, I don't call them mistakes. I call them opportunities to learn. So here's what you learned. You learned that when you go on vacation and you walk a little more and you still don't track, is that the scale will react negatively. Great, we learned that. The next trip we go on, we say, okay, let me look at this. Let me see what's going to happen, because all of these food challenges you have to deal with, they will be here for the rest of your life. They absolutely will. Now, to close out your email, I love the end of it, and this is the piece you need to focus on. You said it's ironic that while you see the consequences of your poor choices, people who haven't seen you in a while, well, they see your trend line. And that's where we focus. We focus all of our energy on the trend line, and your trend line clearly is headed in the right direction, or else people wouldn't notice. So they're looking at the trend line. They're seeing all the success that you're having, and you're not seeing it the way they're seeing it. Here's what you need to do. You need to focus the same way they're focused. You need to see what they see. You need to celebrate what they're celebrating and get to goal. Congratulations, Ronni. Thank you. Next up, Kim from Ohio writes in and says, "Hi, FatDag. I've been on Weight Watchers since April 23rd, and I've lost 15 pounds and counting. I have about 30 to 35 to lose, and the quick results I have seen by staying on plan have really helped snowball my motivation. I love how I don't feel deprived on Weight Watchers, and I'm able to eat anything in moderation. It really seems sustainable long term. I want to write in a comment prompted by the podcast about online only accountability and tell you my story. My joining story is that I tried to put on a pair of old work jeans to go out and do some yard work. They didn't go halfway up my thighs. That, coupled with the fact that I had recently seen family that I hadn't seen in a long time, and I felt like I got some looks. It drove me to jump on the scale for the first time in a long time. I weighed 25 pounds more than my wedding day, almost 2 years ago exactly, and 35 pounds more than I did in 2011. When I distinctly remember going to the doctor and being pleased with the scale because it was such a weird feeling to be pleased with the scale. I'm looking forward to that feeling again. So, I texted my coworker, and this is where the online accountability story shout-out begins. I work in a large hotel. We have a cafeteria here which gives employees free lunch. When I started my job here a year and a half ago, it was awesome, but I think it was part of my problem, as the lunches are large servings of high-fat meats and butter-laden starches every day. Basically, a full dinner-type meal that we would all eat every day because it was free. Since I started the plan, I've been bringing my lunch, and I think it's been an immense help. But the true help has been my coworker wingman. We have 8 people here on Weight Watchers, so when I saw the scale and texted my coworker Jeff for help and advice, I knew what he was going to say. He encouraged me to join, and I'm so happy that I did. I am online only, and about 5 of the 8 are online only as well, but our mutual interest in tracking points and holding each other accountable and giving encouragement is almost like having our own on-site meetings. It really helps with the accountability and the encouragement to have like-minded people around on a day-to-day basis. We comment on what we've seen on Connect, we share recipes, we share ideas, and we keep each other motivated. We all have different weigh-in days, and we check in with each other to see how things went. I appreciate your podcast, as I've always been a podcast listener, so I've added you to my rotation. I like listening to yours during my morning walks. I know a few of my coworkers have listened as well. I think one, Jeff, has already reached out to you a few times too. It's like you're a part of our group here, and I hope you know how much impact you have. Keep up the great work, and thanks for everything, Kim from Ohio. Well, Kim, absolutely thank you for your email. You're right. Weight Watchers is not a diet. It's a lifestyle. You can have whatever you want in moderation. That is the key, and it really is sustainable long term. If you make the healthy lifestyle adjustments, you can sustain this program long term. So here's where you go. And I appreciate your why. The fact that you wrote in and you understand what drove you to join is huge. That will carry you to goal. You know why you joined. Putting on that pair of jeans is a feeling you don't ever want to feel again. You can remember hopping on the scale at a weight that you were pleased with the scale. A lot of us don't have that. You have a gift there. You understand what it's like to hop on the scale in a non-weight loss mode, hoping that you don't weigh any less than what you currently weigh. You understand that. You know what that feeling is like. That is such a gift for you in your journey that you can recognize when you get there. So you got to stay focused. You can get there again. You've been there before. So you actually, one of the things that was really interesting about your email was your work scenario. Obviously, you have a great support system at work. It's really, really interesting to see 8 people all in the same office. You've kind of formed your own meeting, which is amazing. You have a fantastic benefit of free lunch, but it's out of control. It's out of control in the sense where just because it's there and it's free, you kind of feel like you're going to go after it. And so what you did is that you recognized it. You started bringing in your own lunch. And what we need to know is just because the food doesn't have a cost doesn't mean that it's free. It doesn't cost you money, but there is a cost for having that food available. Now, I would venture to say that they would provide opportunities for you if you asked them for something a little healthier. I bet you'd be surprised. I bet you could find out what it is. And I think you could probably continue to eat there, knowing what you know now, knowing what your why is. I bet you could make some modifications. Nonetheless, I'm very pleased to see that you've compensated by bringing your own lunch. That's the piece that's going to get you to goal. Now, I'm going to end your email with a piece that you didn't even mention, which I thought was interesting, is you said you work in a large hotel. Now, I used to travel a lot. I traveled quite a bit. The larger the hotel gym is. So I'm pretty sure, right, if they offer you free lunch, they offer you a free gym membership as well. So get in there, get in the 5 a.m. club, get some workout done, burn some activity, use some fit points, get your mind right. The activity will continue to remind you what you're doing on this plan. It'll keep you going. And a huge shout out to the 8 of you working together. The hashtag Better Together certainly fits in this scenario, and I'm honored to walk with you guys and get this done. So keep up the great work. Next up, Jane writes in and says, "Hi, Mike. I'm Jane from New York City, and I've listened to your podcast while walking to and from work, 5-mile round trip, the bonus of living in a city. You provide daily inspiration, and I admire your ability to have the time for this podcast, as well as your honesty in revealing your own life story, struggles, your successes with others. I hope your podcast doesn't become too commercial with corporate sponsors. I'd like to raise the issue of perfectionism, which I don't think you've discussed on the air. It's the opposite of complacency, but can lead to the same result, throwing in the towel at the first sign of slipping and then veering off the plan for a long time, if not forever. Without getting overly psychological about this, anyone who grew up with demanding parents like mine can relate to this. If the response to you getting a 95 on an exam was, well, why not 100, you can understand the perfectionism trap. I'm at Lifetime for the third time, this time since the end of September 2016, 8 months and counting, and perfectionism got the best of me after my last 2 times at goal in 1994 and 2001. If I didn't track for several days or didn't exercise the amount I set for myself, I felt like a failure. If I started gaining for whatever reason, I was too ashamed to go back to a meeting, on and on. This time around, I've avoided any Connect challenges, 30-day, 100-day, etc., and it makes me uncomfortable when people say, I will never again do this or do that. Never is a long time. Acknowledging the behavior for what it is, often just a matter of particular circumstances like illness, family responsibilities, vacation, work schedules, rather than good or bad, and just moving forward is key. If I didn't track for a couple days because I wasn't in a Wi-Fi zone and didn't have paper to track, big deal. I just started tracking when I have the tools. I'm sure others face this challenge in their lives. I would appreciate you addressing this topic in future episode of your podcast. Thanks, Jane." Well, Jane, absolutely. Perfectionism trap is just as deadly and dangerous as the complacency trap. So I kind of hit your opening paragraph, and where you said you appreciate the honesty and the inspiration provided daily, and then the part you say you hope the podcast doesn't become too commercial with corporate sponsors. I completely agree with you on that. Anything I do on the internet, the first time an advertisement comes on, I hit skip. More often than not, when a commercial comes on, I actually close out what I'm doing and I don't care about what it is I'm looking for. I understand that about my own habits and my own viewing ability on the internet. So I have no desire to make this show that. I also know I got to balance that with the amount of time, effort, and money that it costs me to run the show. So there is a balance there. But I promise you, my pledge to you is that we're not going there. When you start listening to this and you're forced to listen to things you don't want to listen to, then we've gone down the wrong path. The intent of the show is to provide you the help that you need to get you what it is you need and to keep in your ear with relevant, on-purpose conversation to keep you going. So that's my pledge to you, as I understand exactly what you're asking for, and my intent is there. Now, I will say that, obviously, throw it in there. Nokia and I have done some partnerships, and you will see some Nokia stuff soon, but it's not going to take over the podcast. I promise you that. Now, here's where we go. One of the things you said, you felt like a failure when you gained and you started going into a meeting room. One of the things I liked about that is I remember very specifically that anytime I rejoined Weight Watchers, of the 5 times that I had to join, I hoped every single time that I went into the meeting room that I was a different leader. I actually researched pretty heavily to make sure it was a different leader. I had no desire to see a leader who I had lost a lot of weight with and then had to go back and see them at a higher weight. So I was too ashamed, just like you, to go back. So I understand that shame, and I understand what we have there. You talk about this time around, you avoided connect challenges, the 30-day, the 100-day. The whole thing about being perfect is we have to understand that you can't be perfect on the plan. You can't be perfect on the plan for the rest of your life. You may be able to be perfect for a day, perfect for a week. It's going to be extremely impossible to be perfect on the plan for the rest of your life. So the best thing you can do is you can define what being perfect on the plan means. To me, being perfect on the plan means that I'm never too far away from the root intent of the program. So there are days that I track really well. There are days that I don't track really well. There are days that I get tripped up that I didn't even know were coming. But I wake up every single day mindful to the process. And that is what keeps me where I'm at. That's what keeps me at goal, because you just can't be perfect. So now that I know that, I don't try and be perfect. I try and be mindful. And there's a huge difference between being perfect on the plan and being mindful on the plan. Now, you talk about the 30-day challenge, the 100-day challenge. One of the things I learned throughout my journey is exactly what you said, is if there was a 30-day challenge and you say, I want to lose 10 pounds in 30 days. Well, what happens on day 30 if you're down 9 pounds? You don't want to be disappointed with a 9-pound loss. So I'm like you. I don't set attendance or performance goals in that regard. I don't set goals then when it comes to the scale that I can't control. I can't control what the scale number will say. I can control my actions. I can control my activity. I can control what I eat. I can't control how the scale reacts to all that. So what I focus on is not that I want to lose 10 pounds in 30 days or 20 pounds in 100 days or I want to be, this weight before this wedding. What I focus on is when this date comes, 30 days from now, I want to look back and still be following the program. I want to still be mindful to the process. I want to understand that I had some good days along the way and I had some bad days along the way. But more importantly is that I'm still engaged in the process. If you set an attendance goal, if you say 1 year from today, I still want to be very mindful to this journey. I want to be working my best at it. Whatever my best is per day, that will carry you to goal. So be careful of being the perfectionist. It's just not going to happen. And if you get in that trap and you say, I can't do this, then you need to pause and say, I actually can do it. And every morning you wake up on plan. So thanks for that. Melissa writes in and says, Dear Mr. Daggett, thank you again for your congratulations and kind words yesterday when I met goal. They meant so much. As you requested, I'm writing to share my story. I am always inspired and educated by your podcast and hope that this can do the same for somebody else. I've lost 40 pounds in 10 weeks, and it feels amazing. In the last 10 years, I've joined Weight Watchers 5 times. I never met goal and always used a distraction or hurdle as an excuse to quit. I vowed this 5th time would be different. I looked at the previous 4 attempts and learned from them. This time I tracked every bite, no excuses. Now it's second nature. I used all the resources available, the tracker, a Craigslist treadmill, old workout videos, existing shopping and meal planning habits, etc. I started slow, but never stopped building on my efforts. The first week I just tracked. The second week I got a Fitbit and started counting steps. After a month of hitting 10,000 steps a day, I started getting up at 5 a.m. to do workout videos. I leaned more on amazing social support Weight Watchers has to offer. Connect has introduced me to some amazing people. I started with online and coaching. It was extraordinarily helpful to discuss my progress with someone every single week. For the last 10 pounds, I switched to meetings, which have been incredibly inspiring. Being at goal still does not feel real. It finally happened. The message I want your listeners to get from this is to allow your previous experiences and your distractions to motivate you and inspire today's journey. They were not failures, but opportunities to learn. Thank you again for your service to our country, Melissa. Melissa, congratulations on hitting your goal. 40 pounds in 10 weeks is absolutely incredible. So that is focus. You didn't do it by accident. You didn't just wake up accidentally and go, "Oh, God, I don't know your entire journey. I need to dig into it a little more." But I bet you during those 10 weeks, you were focused. Every decision you made, you balanced against, do I want this or do I want to make goal? Do I want this or do I want to push forward? Would I rather have this or would I rather have goal? And when you make those types of decisions, you can have success. You can average 1 to 2 pounds per week. That's what I read on Connect. I see that, it says the Weight Watcher member who's following the plan can expect to lose 1 to 2 pounds a week if you're following the plan. If you're following the plan even more so, that would be, to be 20 pounds in 10 weeks if you're following there. So obviously you had a little more success than that. You may have had some exercise, but regardless, none of that matters. What matters is you were clearly focused on why you had to get this done, and the how showed itself up and it got it done. So congratulations on hitting goal. The fact that it took you 4 other attempts to do this is exactly what's going on. You learned from your other 4 attempts, which means you never gave up and you hit your goal. There is nothing else out there in this journey that compares to hitting goal. We don't set up on this plan and hope to get close to goal. We don't really want to start this journey and just hope to lose some weight. For many of us, the only way to solve our why is to get to goal. And as you see all the time, goal is the goal. So that's what you should be set out for. That's what you should be focused on. And until you get there, you need to continue persevering. You need to continue working and learning every single day. I love the fact that a month after you're hitting 10,000 steps a day, you started getting up at 5 a.m. to do your workout videos. At some point, you realized that the only way you could work out was to make sure that you got it in to start your day. And that's exactly how I started with the 5 a.m. club, is that was the only time in my day where I didn't have something scheduled. Now I'm able to work it in. I still call it the 5 a.m. club because it's 5 o'clock somewhere. Absolutely. But you're up every morning at 5 o'clock getting your workout done. That is absolutely key to your progress, is because you started slow and just kept building on your efforts. So I'm very glad to see that you switched to a meeting room and you got to experience that meeting room environment, because the meetings are incredibly inspiring. You can do this online. We talked about that more than once. There's no difference in the program, but the meeting room provides something you just can't get from the online community. So I'm glad you got the opportunity to experience that. Now, when you talk about being at goal and it doesn't really feel real, that is powerful, right? And so what I mean by that is you're at a place where you've never been. So for many of us, we've lived overweight for so long, we have no idea what a goal weight is. We have no idea what our goal feeling is. So that's what stops many of us from getting there, is that we just don't fully recognize the new body that we're building for ourselves. So you're there, you're at your goal weight, you're at the point where you hop on the scale, you don't want to lose any more weight, and now you're trying to figure out who the new you is. I promise you, you will settle in. I promise you that as you continue to track, continue to live this healthy lifestyle that you built in this beautiful body that you built for yourself, at some point, you'll never forget the journey, but at some point you will forget those feelings of overweight and the shame and the embarrassment, and they all get replaced with pride and motivation and energy. And those new feelings will take over your life. And then what'll happen is as we all do, there will be parts of this journey where you will revert temporarily back to an old habit. And that's the point where you can recognize it. So you have a ton of energy, you have a lot of pride, you feel really good, you make a day where it wasn't perfect, all of a sudden you recognize that feeling, you feel different. And that slowly reminds you of the old feeling. You can quickly recognize that, and that is why it's so important to get to goal, is because when you get to goal, you can recognize the difference between being at goal and being not at goal. When you step on the scale for the very last time in a weight loss mode, it's different. And you celebrate that, and you never drift too far away if you can recognize the difference. So Melissa, congratulations. You're absolutely right. They were not failures for your previous attempts, but opportunities to learn. You learned very well, and you got it done. Great job, Melissa. Proud of you. Last up, Kevin writes in, says, "Hi, Dag. So last week I weighed in to find out I gained 1.4 pounds. After having lost every weigh-in, this emotionally set me back. I have such an amazing support system at home from my wife and sister that they told me not to give up, and we went out for walks every day last week. Well, I weighed in today and I'm down 3 pounds for a total loss of 8.6 pounds. Your podcast, along with my wife's continuing support, has kept me in the game, and I'm looking forward to next week's weigh-in. Kevin. Kevin, that right there is a game changer. The thing that I love the most in your email is you're looking forward to next week's weigh-in. What I want you to do is I want you to look forward to weigh-in every week, and I don't care what the number is. The weeks that I gained, I was looking forward to weigh in. If you go to FatDag.com, click on the weight loss entry, you'll see every single one of my stickers as I weighed in through Weight Watchers. I screen captured every single one of them. There were, I think, 2 or 3 times where I had a gain for that week. Those weeks, I was excited to weigh in. There was one time, true story, I drove from Atlanta, Georgia to Indianapolis, and I didn't even stop at the house. I went direct from Atlanta to Indianapolis to make sure I got to my meeting on time so that I could weigh in, and I gained weight. I could not wait to get on the scale, even though I knew the scale was going to be up, because what that meant to me is that was my grounding. My attendance goal was I had to have attendance. I had to be mindful to the process. I had to make sure I never missed a meeting, and I couldn't wait to weigh in. I think that's where you are. I get the sense from your email that you're at the point now where you want to weigh in weekly. You're down 8.6 pounds. That's phenomenal work. You don't do that by accident. So, sir, keep up the great work. Congratulations on your service in the United States Marine Corps. It's an honor to serve with you. Thank you for what you've done. And let's talk about more celebrations, right? I do want to know what it is you're celebrating. Let's share it on the air. Go to fatdag.com, click on Listen Now, send in your email at onair@fatdag.com. Send in your questions, your comments, your celebrations. I will certainly work them in as part of the show. But that's going to do it for this time. Remember that losing weight and getting healthy has absolutely nothing to do with luck. You have to remain disciplined and focused. Set your sights on your goal and go after it. I wish you good focus.